Now, across Texas, the issue is...
I'm Greg Groogan in Houston.
I'm Stephen Dial in Dallas.
I'm Rudy Koski in Austin, and this is Texas, the issue is.
The governor of California, the governor of New Mexico, and the governor of Arizona, each of the leaders of southern border states simply pale in comparison to Texas's Greg Abbott in the crusade to focus national attention on the crisis of illegal immigration and lethal drug trafficking. Abbott's vocal pushback against Biden administration abdication, vigorous support of new state law criminalizing illegal immigration, and multi-billion-dollar deployment of Texas troops, law enforcement, and barriers along the Rio Grande has attracted both wide-scale admiration and bitter condemnation. We spoke one-on-one with the governor about becoming the most prominent voice in the border war and his all-in commitment to regain control. Governor, I want to turn to an issue that is first and foremost in your mind, which is protecting our exposed, porous border. Operation Lone Star, busing migrants to northern cities, deploying the National Guard. You've done it all. You've brought a lot of exposure, the national consciousness to the crisis. Do you think the tide is turning?
Well, listen, the results are tangible. Remember, ground zero for illegal crossings in Texas was in Eagle Pass. There would be 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people crossing there a day. And Eagle Pass is the area where there's a 50-acre park. And I told the National Guard, I want you to seize that park, shut it down, do not let people pass. So ever since then, this area where thousands of people once crossed, there's not thousands or hundreds or even dozens. There is on average about 5 people or fewer a day crossing there, and those people are arrested by the Texas Department of Public Safety. Texas, which represents 2/3 of the entire border with Mexico, used to have more than 2/3 of the illegal crossings. Now about 3/4 of the illegal crossings are in California and Arizona and New Mexico, not the state of Texas. So we are having a profound impact in stopping the flow of illegal immigration into the state of Texas.
Governor, recently impeached Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas went to Guatemala and was kind of trash talking SB 4, which you signed into law. Any reaction to that?
So, you know, what Mayorkas has said is nothing than a bunch of lies.
It is our strongly held view that that law is unconstitutional, and it is our hope and confidence that the courts will strike it down with finality.
He proved that. In fact, he has been impeached in part because he lied to Congress by telling Congress and America that the border was secure. The Biden administration has not secured the border. What SB 4 does is to authorize Texas to assert the powers that Congress has given to the federal government. Let me be clear about this. Congress has passed 3 laws. One that requires the president to detain anybody to deter anybody from entering the country illegally, then to detain anybody who does enter illegally, and to build border barriers. Biden is doing none of those 3 things. Texas is trying to step up and enforce by state law the same law that Congress passed, which is to deny illegal entry, detain people who get here, and build those border walls.
Governor, I'd like you to go back to that moment when you decided to start busing many of these illegal immigrants to cities like New York and Chicago and others. Now you have almost an ally in Mayor Adams, who has gone to the White House saying we have to do something on the border. Tell me how you feel about that decision.
Well, for one, it's completely changed the political dynamics and discourse across the United States of America, because now it's not just Republicans but Democrats also who say, listen, this open border is a crisis that the Biden administration is failing the country at. But going back to the beginning of the decision, I was sitting around with a bunch of local mayors and county leaders and police chiefs and sheriffs in their small little communities like Del Rio and Eagle Pass. They were having hundreds of people dropped off by the Biden administration. They said they could not deal with it. I said, I'll take care of it, and that I began the busing process. And the thought was this: if Joe Biden and his border czar Kamala Harris were not going to come to the border, I was going to take the border to them, which originally was Washington, D.C., and then it expanded to sanctuary cities, cities that have self-identified they want these people to come to their cities. They did want them until they actually showed up, and then they could not deal with it.
Okay, fellas, my one-word description is committed. Stephen, how about you?
Dug in.
All right, Rudy, lay it on me.
Greg, I'm going to go with carnival.
All right. Clearly a great deal more to discuss when the Fox Texas Trio returns on the other side of this break.